Hello, my lovely soul, and welcome to Unstoppable Confidence. I am your host, Lauren Glick. I am here to bring you my energy, my motivational speaking, and me being a confidence mentor. My mission is to inspire women to own who they are, step into their higher selves fearlessly, and live a life with unstoppable joy. On this show, we are going to cover everything from aligning your life to your higher self, setting boundaries, self-growth, and living a purpose-driven life. Let's get you living a meaningful life you cannot wait to wake up to. Stop driving and start living with ease and abundance. Cheers to living a magical life. And I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. Now, let's head into today's episode. Hello, lovely. So I am absolutely stoked for you to listen to this episode today. My Lord, this woman was the woman that got me into podcasting, and I'm so in love with who she is as a person, her energy, her insight, and her drive in life. So buckle up, get ready, get tuned in, and I'm going to be interviewing Kacia and her lovely energy here on the other side. So I will see you in the episode. Hello, my lovely. I am absolutely so fangirling over here right now. Kacia is the woman that got me into podcasting and starting Unstoppable Confidence. And I actually started crying, totally, completely honest right now. I started crying when she got on the Zoom call today, because I absolutely love her. If you haven't listened to her podcast, it's called Empower Her, and it's like a motivational speaking podcast on steroids, because that's who you are. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here. Like, you made my podcast dreams come true. It took me forever to DM you being like, oh my God, can you be on my podcast? So thank you so much for being here.
Lauren, I literally love you. I'm honored to be on your show. I love your enthusiasm. I feel like we are just like sisters that we're supposed to be connected. So this is amazing. I'm excited to dive into all the juice, and thank you for all your support, girl.
I'm so excited. I feel like we are definitely meant to be connected as well. And just watching your journey, as I was telling Kacia before we started recording, she is one of those entrepreneurs I have been watching, and I feel like I truly do already know her. So, she does have her podcast, highly recommend it. And she also has her business called She Goes. So I would absolutely love for you to talk about, how did you even get into podcasting, and how did that even start for you?
Yeah. So I think to take it back a little bit, I did what a lot of listeners probably can connect with, where I did the thing that I thought that I was supposed to do because of the expectations of my peer group, right? So I went to college, I got the job, I started working my way up the corporate ladder, and I actually didn't have a bad job. I didn't have bad managers. I actually had great career trajectory, great income. My last corporate job, I worked at Google in corporate recruiting, and I really liked it. And it was really good. In fact, it was great by a lot of people's standards, but internally I had this gut feeling that I wanted something more. And I don't mean that more means being an entrepreneur versus not being an entrepreneur, because I don't think it's for everyone, but I wanted something that felt like I was more in alignment, which I know, Lauren, you can connect with, leaving firefighting. I was working with a lot of software engineers, and I'm the squirreliest, weird, all over the place personality that I felt like I had to be really buckled up, and that just buttoned up and buckled up, it just it was a whole thing.
No, I get it.
And I really wanted to make an impact, and I didn't really know exactly what I could do. I didn't have a lot of examples of entrepreneurship. Again, because we are often, the byproduct of the expectations of our peer group. A lot of my girlfriends and, guy friends from college, they were all doing their thing where they're working their corporate jobs. My now fiance was applying to dental school, which was a very linear path. And I was just like, this doesn't feel right. So my first business I started in January of 2014, which was in network marketing on the side of a full-time corporate job. My intention was actually never to leave my full-time job at first until I caught onto the vision of the idea that I could be an entrepreneur. And I was like, oh,
are you still making like passive income from your MLM?
A lot.
Oh, girl.
Yeah. Which was awesome because I built it. We were living in Seattle at the time, moved to New York City for my now fiance, Sina, to go to dental school. I worked at Google in downtown New York City, and I built it before and after work. So for any of the side hustlers right now that you're building this business before and after your corporate job, or you're raising like 2 tiny humans at home and you're like, and it sometimes feels like you're pushing a gigantic monster truck tire up a hill and you're ugly crying and you're like, is this ever going to work out? Like, I hear you, and I've been there, and I will tell you.
I love your example so much.
But that's what it feels like. And then it's like your snot and your mascara is getting in your mouth and you can't see, and you're like, I hate this.
That's kind of how I felt when you first got on the podcast. Like, oh my God.
It comes from excitement or it comes from overwhelm, right? So anyway, I built it on the side, and then I got to a point where I was like, holy crap, this is making more than my full-time job.
Holy moly.
I'm actually not someone who really preaches the advice like jump and the net will appear. I'm very comfortable with risk personally, but majority of people are not as comfortable with risk as I am. So
I love jumping. I'm jump.
You and I are like that, Lauren, where we're like, we'll just go and we'll figure it out. But I think that advice is helpful for people that are comfortable with risk or that have spent a lot of time building up confidence.
I have a super big question on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I am like that for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are not that like leap in the net shall appear. How do you help coach women to take those actionable steps?
Yeah.
Like, how do you make it? Like, do you make those steps up to help people?
Yeah. So it's interesting because it's actually really, really simple to do this, but we try and make it really complicated. It comes from literally thinking about confidence as the building blocks of everything. So confidence, it's like a bucket. Every single time that you show up and keep a promise to yourself, you're putting a little deposit in your bucket, like do. That confidence gives you the foundation to be more comfortable with risk because you believe in your ability to figure it out. Right. Yeah. So it's like, how on a micro scale can we find tiny little ways to keep promises to ourselves? It doesn't have to be something massive. It's not launch that business, run that marathon, quit that job, leave that relationship, move to that city. It's drink a gallon of water and do it because you said you were, right?
Yes.
Or it's do your workout. It's like have a tough conversation. It's raise your hand in that meeting and don't let freaking Fred from HR, who always has something to say and always talks, like, Fred, bye, right? Whatever.
Bye
right?
with your negative energy. We do not need you, Fred.
And like, I think it like really comes down to that. And like what network marketing taught me, although I don't actively build that business anymore, it taught me those tiny little things that are easy to do and easy not to do. But I got so good at being consistent with tiny little micro goals that it built this confidence in me that I literally believed that I could do whatever I wanted. So when we moved from New York to San Diego, which is where we moved afterwards, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I had that feeling, which I'm sure some people listening in can come up with this. I know, Lauren, you've been in that position in your business too, of like, wait, maybe this isn't actually aligned anymore. Yeah. And when I feel that like feeling intuitively, I know some people get this idea in their head. I get it viscerally in my body. Me too. I'm like, ooh, this uncomfortable feeling that I want to wish away. I'm like, oh, I hate this. I want to like smush it down, like whack-a-mole, just like, oh, get it out. But I know that it means something that I need to take a step in a different direction. So for me, I listen to it and I'm like, this means I need to start something new. So when we got to San Diego, I was like, I have no idea what the hell I can do besides network marketing, but I don't want to do that anymore. While it was an awesome business, I was like, I'm done with that. I want to do something else. So because I didn't know what was next, I decided to do what I always do and start something on the side. So I started Empower Her podcast in November of 2018 because we just hit 3 years. And at the time, I literally had no idea the direction that I wanted to go with the podcast. And why I'm explaining this is because I think sometimes, women that are listening into this, they're like, gosh, like I need to know where exactly I'm going. I'm like, girl, you need to start and know that clarity comes from action. Right?
Ooh, I love that. That's what I always say. And it's so impactful. And I absolutely loved your example of having your little bucket And
Yeah.
confidence comes from those really small action steps. And I think it's so inspiring to hear that you can start something on the side and that actually started, like, everything that you've done on the side has become that main
it's just
source.
rotating. It's just rotating like that. Because Empower Her was on the side. I wasn't monetizing the podcast. The reason I wanted to start it was because I felt like there were a lot of personal development podcasts that felt like the women or men that were hosting it were way ahead of me. Like they were reflecting back on their early stages. And I was like, I would love to hear someone that's like, I feel like I suck right now, and this is how I'm navigating through it. Or I feel like I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Can we like have an open conversation? I wanted it to be like a come with me, let's figure this out together, rather than a look at me, I've got this all figured out type of podcast.
And that's the vibe I get from you, Kacia. And that is why I absolutely love you.
Thank you.
You are so encouraging and inspiring. And you're like, no, like, I don't have it figured out. I just want you to come here with me and like do the thing. And I think as entrepreneurs, especially building confidence as an entrepreneur, it's really hard for beginning level entrepreneurs because you see these entrepreneurs that have been online for like 10 plus years and they have it all figured out. Right. And I think the one thing that I've been debating about, because my ladies know as well that I am new, and that's why I absolutely love inspiring entrepreneurs just to do the damn thing. Is that we like, this is what I've kind of been debating about, or like kind of going over in my mind lately, is just starting that trail, but blazing my own path. And that's why I like really clung onto Clubhouse, because nobody is in that space. And I understand like there's this like whole new social audio space. And I'm like, I absolutely love it. And like these entrepreneurs have their courses and they're like, this is how I made it to this space. And that was like, but to me, it's like, I understand I have bought into a lot of courses and I love high-end entrepreneurs, but it's like, they're up here and that was their spaces and their travel 10 years ago. So I feel like what they're teaching now is something that they did, 5 years ago, that it's not like necessarily the path that I want to take. Is it,
Yeah, that's why I'm big on like principles and mindset of it, because that stuff evolves with you versus practical, like, because the world is constantly changing. And what's really interesting, Lauren, that I want to point out to you, that you said that I'm sure a lot of other women say too, is, well, versus that person that's got it all figured out. But you and I both know personally, I know entrepreneurs that are making millions and millions of dollars a year personally. They do not have it all figured out.
No, they definitely don't.
They are actually confused because they're like, wait, what the hell is next for me?
Exactly.
And they often feel more confused.
Disconnected.
Because they don't feel like they have as many people to talk to about it. So if you're new in this space right now and you feel confused, welcome to the club. There's so many people that are new to the space that feel like they're trying to figure it out. You just have to look for someone who's a couple steps ahead of you, not a million steps ahead of you.
No.
Couple steps ahead of you, which is why I love that you're so transparent on this podcast, Lauren. You're like, I'm new to this space. And why people can connect with it is because you're not trying to say, hey, I'm Lauren, I know everything. So follow my 10-step action plan. And then you're going to be a bazillionaire and have a really tight, perfect marriage. And you're always going to feel confident. It's like, what? Like nobody has that. So
no.
I think it's like that part in itself. And it goes back to this concept that you were talking about of like trying it on the side. And that way it gives you this permission to kind of come from this curiosity lens that's a little bit more playful, because things that we don't put so much pressure on, this is what I think is wrong with the business coaching space, is a lot of people put pressure on, jump, have the goal to get to your first 6 figures, quit your job. That's the real win. But it's like, well, my personal experience is everything I've done, it started on the side. And then I test the waters to see, do I actually like this? Right? Like I committed to wanting to do something long enough that I had enough proof and like evidence that I gave it a real go. And then I could evaluate, do I like podcasting or not? I mean, I knew day one when I was like awkwardly sweating in weird places and I was like, and I was like, oh my gosh, what if no one listens? And then I instantly was like, what if everyone listens? And I was like, what if they're naked? What if Billy Bob lives in his parents' basement and he writes bad reviews around me? And then I was like, holy shit, I'm doing it anyways. I don't know. So if I didn't get to test that out and just give myself the permission, I wasn't trying to monetize podcasting straight out the gates. I didn't even know what the hell my company was going to be when I started podcasting. And that's one thing that I just want to encourage listeners to think is like, that indication, whether it's a gut feeling or this random idea that just keeps toggling around in your head, it doesn't have to be the final thing. It can just be the starting point.
Oh, I love that.
Right? Like you have no idea what it's going to evolve into. I had no idea I was going to start She Goes Company in January of 2020, which, Lauren, let me tell you, you might not know this, that She Goes Company was supposed to be a live events company. And I did know that. I did know. And it was supposed to be in January of 2020. Our first event was going to be in March of 2020. So curveball.
That was a very big curveball. Thanks, COVID.
Yeah. But it's like being willing to, and this is why I'm really passionate about figuring out like who it is that you want to serve and why it is that you want to serve them. And then just figuring out the medium that you're most excited to serve them on, whether that is Clubhouse or podcasting. Some people crush it on TikTok. Like, I don't even know how to TikTok at all. Right.
Okay.
Like,
that makes such a good point, Kacia. Cause I'm like, oh my God, like I'm squirrel brain for sure. Yeah. And it's like, oh, everyone's telling me to get on TikTok. I must go on TikTok too. And it's like, Lauren, like, yeah, I love dancing and acting like an idiot, but like TikTok is not
it. And it might, and for you, the reason why I'm not on TikTok, and I'm not saying that I won't ever, but why I'm not is because I know myself that I am so damn squirrely. I love dancing videos. I'm about to go hard on watching every dancing video. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I didn't even build my business. Where did my business go? Right. So like, it's kind of like being self-aware, but I also like to think about it like the Cheesecake Factory. Probably didn't think
I love cheese. No, I didn't, but I love cheesecake. So I'm all for it.
So I don't like the Cheesecake Factory menu. I'm down with cheesecake, but I don't like the menu.
I love cheesecake.
800 things on the menu. No offense if you work at the Cheesecake Factory or you own a Cheesecake Factory if you're listening to this, but there's so much stuff on there. I'm like, there is no way that your sandwich is great and your pizza and your like beef broccoli. Like you can't do all those things good. So my mindset is the same way with social platforms. I'm not going to crush it on Twitter and TikTok and LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and Clubhouse and all the, like, no way. Like it's picking like what I know that I love to do and then connecting with my audience in that way. I love podcasting. I like Instagram and I send out text messages. Those are my 3 favorite platforms. The rest of the stuff is like, if I figure out LinkedIn, I'll figure out like, you know, like that type of thing. So it's kind of like knowing your own lane and not letting somebody else who's telling you, oh, you have to do it this way. Because if you're not going to enjoy the process, what the hell are you doing it for?
And I think as an entrepreneur, the whole point of being an entrepreneur is being in alignment of who you are and what you have fun with.
Exactly. And I think so often because we're socialized to want to get to a certain milestone that somebody else has deemed as success, it's like, ooh, let's really take this back internally and say, what is my success criteria? Because what success is to me involves a lot of freedom and flexibility and fun and play and all of that. But to somebody else, that might not be what their definition of success is. They want structure and regime, like they want that. And that feels aligned for them. So asking yourself, am I building a business that's in alignment from somebody else's personality? Or am I building a business that feels in alignment for me? And
I think that's such a good segue to talk about your recent podcast and really setting goals and being in alignment with yourself. I loved your last podcast and it was about you. Like, I'm like, what was the title of it, Kacia? Do you know the title of it?
It was like goal something. What did I say?
It was,
I forget.
Wait, I did write it down. It was a tactical chat on goal setting.
Oh,
was that it? Yeah. Or was that like a subtitle?
Something like that.
So
I can't remember what it was.
I think it's
a tactical chat on goal setting, how to make this the time that you follow through. Boom.
Yes, because
I forgot what it was called. Yeah.
I think it's if you haven't listened to that episode, 100% go find Kacia on, what are you on? Spotify, podcast, any of the podcasting platforms.
All the places.
Such a good tactical insight on how to set goals. Because right now, yes, I am following you, Kacia, and you are on your 75 hard throughout December. And I'm like, water. I can't believe you're going to make it through the next like 20 minutes. having to go be like restroom break. If you have to, it's totally fine.
If you don't know what 75 hard is and you're listening in, it's a mental toughness challenge, but you have to drink a gallon of water a day. So basically what Lauren means is I'm peeing all the time. Yeah. And yes, I do get really excited, as we all do, when my pee is clear. I'm like, I am winning at life.
Yes.
I love clear pee. So anyway,
me too.
Tangent.
Total tangent. But that's the thing, is that the fact of goal setting, and I really loved some of your insights of going into goals and having how did you even phrase it?
Like the pursuit of the goal, your perspective. I think
your perspective of it, I was like, oh, because people usually say like, oh, this is my goal. It's going to be really flipping challenging, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I think it's really important for anyone right now, when you're thinking about a goal that you have, or how you're approaching your business, it's literally asking yourself to take a step back, take yourself out of it so you can kind of detach emotionally and from your ego. And you ask yourself, what is the story that I'm telling myself about the pursuit of the goal? Not how you're going to feel when you get there. Because let's be real. We all set goals because of the feeling we think that we're going to get when we accomplish the goal. Right. Yeah. Or for a lot of people, what we think other people will think of us if we accomplish that goal. Right. Yeah. But in reality, it's like the outcome's not guaranteed, but the pursuit sure as hell is. So it's asking yourself, what do I want to feel like in pursuit of that? 75 hard is a really challenging goal to do,
especially during Christmas.
And during
you're getting
a
it, girl.
Road trip, like all of that stuff. I'm about to get married. I'm ready to get it right, get it tight. Like I'm feeling all the things. But the thing is, I've decided that the pursuit is not going to be hard. It's going to be challenging, but it's going to be fulfilling. And it's going to give me so much opportunity to feel proud along the way that I'm going to love the pride and fulfillment that I get along the way. I just decided that. Right.
And that's rad. Like, we should enjoy the journey. Like, who the hell knows if we're going to wake up tomorrow. So the fact that we get to do this and we get to wake up and drink a flipping gallon of water during Christmas, like
live your best life. But I don't know if you can connect to this, Lauren. I'm sure people listening in can, where what happens often is other people tell you how you should feel about your goal, and they try and project their own perception, right? For example, wedding planning. Oh my gosh, Kacia, are you so stressed about wedding planning?
Yes.
No, I feel great about it, right? I'm like, I'm literally marrying my favorite person. We've been together for 13 years. I'm going to have this is so freaking fun. I am so excited. I'm like, we're having the best time ever. Like, yeah, of course there's going to be like logistics because we're planning a wedding with a bunch of people flying in, but like, it's fine.
That's such a good point.
I'm not accepting your perception.
Your projections on me. Like, no thanks. Right. And you're oh my God, that's so interesting. Because most people, like, when you tell them you're doing something hard, they're like, oh my God, like, you can't do that. Or their first reaction is negative. And that's the thing, is like, don't let everybody else's perceptions change your own on your own goals.
It's just projection in general, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think it's a really important, like, conversation to have with yourself is what do I actually want to think about, and what is the approach that I want to have, and does this feel aligned for me, and then who are you going to need to become to accomplish that goal? That's all.
I really liked it. Like, you were like, there's a character, like if you were a character in the movie, like you are going to change along the way of like making these goals, because that's the point of a goal, is to change yourself and who you're going to become in the future.
Yep. I think so often people think, oh, I'm not qualified, or I'm never going to get there. Or we do this thing where we've got, especially for ambitious women that are listening into this podcast, I know for me, and I'm sure, Lauren, you can attest to this too, that there is a big freaking space between where you are now and where you want to go. And that distance is like, oh, it's a big freaking space. We have to be so intentional about how we're labeling that. Because you can easily label it overwhelming. You can look at how long it is. You're going to think I'm never going to get there. You're going to think that I'm not qualified. I am not qualified for my big vision yet.
Yeah.
Duh. Of course I'm not.
Because it's not you yet.
I literally need the space in between to qualify myself in the process. It's like, of course I can't do it yet. And people are like, oh, I just don't know if I can do it. It's like, of course you don't know yet. You literally have to learn that as you go. You build the skills, the tools, the coping mechanisms, the community around you, the environment that you need. And you have to fail and get back up and take what you learned. Like, you need the whole path. And everyone's like, not everyone, but so many people are like, I just feel like I'll never get there. And it's like, well, you're sure as hell not going to have like the journey if you say it that way. Right?
Oh my God. I love it, Kacia. God, That's the thing is like, I'm just like fascinated by listening to you because just your insight in life. I'm like, how in the hell did she become who she is? And I mean, that's the thing is like, you put yourself around people that inspire you, that have good, I don't want to say like, I was going to say like good life strategies, but it's like,
but people that that look more like your future than your past.
Yeah.
Right. And it's really interesting because some people say like, oh, I don't know where to find those people or where to get those people. There are people that have been some of the biggest mentors to me that I now know in person that I did not know, but I listened to all of their content and now I'm friends with them. Right.
Ooh.
Or they're mentors to me. Or there's people that right now I'm listening to that they do not know who I am, but one day I will be on their stage, or I will be collaborating with them, or I will be hanging out at their house. Like I know that will happen because it's like all this content through podcasting and social. It's like you can absorb content and you can make one of the 5 people that you spend the most time with someone that you literally don't know in person. There's no excuse. It's literally 2021, 2022 when we're listening to this, right?
And that's the thing is that everyone, well, those people that you are following, and I love that because you're definitely a testament to that of like me following Kacia and she doesn't even know who she is. And that was, I think that was like one of the reasons why I was like, so like, I had like a crazy awestruck moment when you got on the podcast. I was like, oh, she's like real. Like, oh my God.
I'm exactly what you expected, right?
I know. And I'm like, oh my God, she's the best. I absolutely love her, your energy. So, okay, stop fangirling, Lauren. This is a real live podcast right now. So I want to know, we're going to ask you 2 more questions. I want to ask you about She Goes and then your podcast. So with Empower Her podcast, how did you, I know you're going to be like goal setting, Lauren, but how did you take your podcast from being just a vision and just starting off and being like, oh my God, what in the hell am I doing, to being so successful? And like, how many downloads do you have now on your podcast?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you a curveball because I'm not going to say goal setting because I had no idea where the hell it was going to go. So I think it was number 1. I didn't have an expectation of success being a number because I didn't care about the number. And I didn't even really know what a good number should be. I was just like, I just want to love the process. I want to get better at podcasting. I want to nurture my community. And then I want to make sure that every single person that listens into my podcast knows that I really deeply care about them listening into my podcast. And that I believed that it would organically grow by a friend telling a friend, telling a friend, telling a friend. I have not spent $1 on advertising ever.
I love that.
The podcast has over 4 million downloads. Which is awesome. I'm so proud of it. I'm proud of the community of the people that are around the podcast. But I mean, the unsexy truth is I was consistent and I knew exactly who I was talking to. And every single person that tags the podcast on Instagram, I personally send them a voice message the first time they tag it. And then I respond to all of my DMs. It takes me so much time and I love it so freaking much because it's why I do what I do. And it's so funny because a lot of people tell me like, oh, podcasters never respond to me. And I'm like, this is why I create content like this. This is my favorite platform is podcasting because I know there's someone that's like listening to us naked in the shower, like tossing their loofah in there, like, where did Kacia?
She said it.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know that. Or they're on their commute and they're just having like a rough time. They're like, I just want to listen in to these 2 girls that like, it's going to feel like we're in the room, like together. And like, I just want to have this escape from it, or I want to learn something, or I want to feel like someone gets me or understands me. I'm like, that's why I'm doing this. So from that, it was like, thank you so much for like being supportive of the podcast. When you tell your girlfriends, it means the world to me. When you share it, it means the world to me. And it was organic, just growth like that, day after day, showing up, and just really being intentional about understanding that unsexy consistency was going to contribute to this macro vision. And I didn't know where it was going to go. And full transparency, I mean, people are like, where do you want to do in 5 years? I'm like, I have no idea. What do you mean? Like,
I love your transparency. That's so true. I don't know. Like,
I'm like, I know for sure. And my fiance and I just had a conversation about this where I'm like, okay, 2 years from now, what do I want my day to like involve? I'm like, okay, well, I know I want to be speaking. I know I want to be podcasting. I know I want to do events. And I was like, what type of woman do I want to help? I'm like, I really like helping women that are just getting started in business. I'm like, I feel like I'll probably be doing something like that. Maybe I'll make a human. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
maybe
like
I'll make a human.
like, you know, I'm like, those are kind of what I think I want. So it's more like, what do I want the activities to do? Like what will my daily activities be, rather than what am I actually doing? Right. Like, what do I want it to feel like? And I think a really important question for people to ask themselves is what I'm doing now getting me closer to where I want to be or further from it? That's one of the reasons I stepped away from network marketing. I was like, this is not getting me closer to where I want to be. I wanted to build something outside of that on my own. I'm a huge fan of network marketing for people. I think it's a great business for some people to get started into entrepreneurship, or it's great for some people to build on the side. Totally cool. But for me, I was like, I need to create something of my own. I want to build my own personal brand. And then I want to figure out where to go with that. Right. So
I absolutely love that.
Was.
I don't either, but you're like, how we're like, I don't know
idea
like, what the question was.
That's how I started my podcast.
Oh, yes. That's what we were talking about. I was like, I was just so fascinated by your story. And, yes.
And then
just all yes.
She goes, oh yeah. And then you asked about She Goes Company. So So what happened essentially, and this is like a really like tactical business piece of advice that has been so helpful for me, is I created the community first. And then I asked the community what they wanted, and I made what they wanted. I did not create anything behind closed doors. I'm not a big fan of this, like this stuff in entrepreneurship where it's like, I'm working on this. I'm not going to tell you anything of what it is. No. Like right now I'm kind of doing that in a way with something that we're launching in January, but I'm saying who it's for, right? So it's like, I think a lot of times we want to create and then we want to just launch it, but it's like, how can you co-create with your community? So the reason that we started our podcasting course, we started it in She Goes Podcasting. We started in March of 2020 because I had so many women that were DMing me on Instagram. They're like, Kacia, I want to start a podcast. Can you teach me how to do that? And I was like, ooh, yeah, for sure. I was like, I've done it. So like, I'm sure I can teach it. Like, let me just figure out how. Let me just tell you, full transparency, how I started this podcast course that has made hundreds of thousands of dollars and has helped so many freaking women get their message out into the world. First and foremost is I went on a walk with my fiance. I said, we want to start a podcast course. Could you teach the tech? Because that stuff really bores me. You know tech. You did it for me. People love you because you explain things so simply and you make a lot of women in the community just feel calm about stuff. He's so good at articulating like
I love it.
Crazy things in like simple ways.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want to sell it. So let's just make a sales page. And I just know that there's women that want to sell it. I literally had a sticky note that had 4 topics of what I wanted to cover. I wanted to be from idea to launch in 4 weeks. That's actually stayed the whole time. And I went with a Post-it note and I went live and I was like, this is what it's going to be. We've got 20 spots. This is the beta round. If you want in, this is the page, just, to sign
Go
up.
check it out. Yeah.
Everybody, like, we filled the spots and like really quickly in a few hours. And then I created the course as they went through it. And I created it. And then I would take the feedback that they gave me and I would just add content to that week based off the questions and just rework it. So by the time I launched it next, I had 20 testimonials. I poured my heart and soul into those 20 girls who I think almost all of them are still podcasting from March of 2020. And they were all testimonials that helped me fill the next round of it. And then and then I just reinvented it and kept going. And all I did was just said, like, what do you want from me? And I listened to them and then I made it.
I think and you made such a good point in the middle of that, saying that you listen to your community. And I even yesterday, I was on the phone with a client and she was like, well, what is my, like, I need to have an offer. I need to make money. It's like, but you don't have I didn't say you don't have a community yet. It's like, let's start at the foundation of building a community. Cause what is the point of having this offer if we don't have anyone even following us yet?
Yep.
And I think that's a huge pain point for new entrepreneurs of like, how do I even build this community? So I can make this business.
And I think it's because they want it so quickly, right? Where like, I did not sell anything on my podcast for an entire year. I just put out 2 episodes a week with no ads, with nothing. Like, it was just free value for an entire year, twice a week. Right. And then I was like, ooh, I started to create my own products in January 2020. I didn't even bring on my first like actual sponsor onto the show until 2 years in.
Wow.
Right? And so it was long game. It was like, let me cultivate this community of people where like, I'm not going to bring on any sponsor that I don't fully back. Like, I'm not going to create a product that I don't already know the community wants because I'm listening to what they ask me for. Then it just, I think some people have this perception because we're socialized to get out of that corporate job and be a full-time entrepreneur. So they want to get out as quickly as possible. But my advice is on the flip side, find a job that like, you don't have to love your job, love your side thing, build it before and after work or whatever you got to do, build it more on the weekends, ask for some help, get some support, cultivate that community. It might take you longer, but it's sustainable that way. And then you don't burn out.
No, that makes so much sense. And because it's, to me, that's where, because I left FIRE and then I started entrepreneurship. So I did it like, I want to say ass backwards, but I mean, I had warm leads because I actually got into entrepreneurship as a fitness coach, right? Yeah. Like I retired from FIRE. I was like, I like movement. I'm going to go get Pilates, all these things. And before COVID, I started online as a fitness coach, and it was extremely challenging to fill a course when you have like 100 followers, right? Yeah. So that's what I loved coaching that as well, because it is all about community. And when you have that solid base of community, it makes it so much easier because you get to ask your community all these questions. So I love how you really talk about building it as a side hustle before making it your full time.
Yeah. And some people don't even want it to be their full time. Yeah. Right. So it's also asking yourself that too. Like, do you actually want that? Or do you think that you should want that? Right. Not everybody wants to have a 7-figure or your business. I love it, but I don't but not everybody wants that. Not everybody is actually comfortable with the uncertainty and the full ups and downs that comes with being a full-time entrepreneur.
It does have its ups and downs, doesn't it?
Yeah. You like party your pants off the, 1 hour. And then the next hour you're like, literally like, I suck. I should quit and go like work on a tiki hut on a beach because I,
oh my God. I thought it was like just me being like, is this like crazy town or is this like entrepreneurship?
That's what it's like. Welcome to the club, girl. It doesn't go away.
I'm like, because last week I was like, I'm over this. I can't do this shit.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. So.
And then today I was like, oh my God, I get to talk to Kacia. This is going to be so much fun.
There you go. You got to look for the wins.
Yes. So She Goes company. What is, because I know you said that was like an in-person events company. Is that what you're working on now for like your launch in January?
Yeah. So it's really more about tactical tools and community focused on fun for women in business. So we have a live event coming. We have courses that are specifically around podcasting, whether it's getting started in podcasting or monetizing your podcast. And then what we're creating in January that's launching is for women that have a side business to grow and scale and really do it in an aligned way that's very community driven. But everything She Goes company is about community, step-by-step tools, and having fun in the process.
Exactly what we just talked about.
What's up?
What's up, Kacia?
I just created what I wish existed back then because I didn't have it. I was so squirrely. So
I was so squirrely too. I still am. But that's the thing is I'm having fun while doing it. And it's like, this sounds fun. I'm going to go here.
Yep.
But so are there, how do people find you? What is like, how do people work with you? All the fun things.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at Kacia, Kacia. How do I spell my name?
How do you spell your name?
Kacia Fitzgerald. My podcast is called Empower Her. It's Monday and Thursday podcast. All the fun stuff. I'm obsessed with my text list, which is where I send out like fun little inspirational texts a couple times throughout the week.
Why am I not on your text list?
Oh, you got to get on it.
I'm going to write this down. Okay.
Here's your number, Lauren, and anyone listening.
Ready to go.
Text me anything you want to 512-548-2728. Again, that's 512-548-2728. And basically the idea was I wanted to send out fun little inspirational, totally free texts, kind of like if your saucy bestie and a fortune cookie had a baby. And that's what you're going to get.
I need some Kacia in my life. So
You can text me whatever, or you can text me like a salsa dancer emoji, whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm going to totally text you. And if you are not following Kacia on Instagram, you must do that. And you have to go listen to her podcast because it's like your just energy is so wild. I absolutely love it. And whenever I need like an inspiration boost, I literally was listening to you in the shower this morning. And I'm like, I'm going to be talking to her at noon Pacific Standard Time today.
Yes, I love it. I'm so grateful for you being the type of person who's willing to put herself out there at this stage in your business too. Right. And this goes to anyone listening in that's telling yourself like, oh, I'm not qualified yet. Or like, I want to wait until XYZ before I launch my podcast, before I launch this thing. People need someone that they can connect with.
Oh yeah.
Someone that's 10 years ahead is maybe not relatable.
Relatable.
Right. Or like even the person that's like more introverted, that's maybe listening to this podcast and they think that you and I are like total aliens, like awesome, because someone needs to see it done that way. Because they won't connect with us. Because they're like, gosh, these girls are totally off the wall.
Yeah, but we are kind of aliens, I feel like.
We are totally. But maybe, Sarah or Ashley that's listening into this, she's like, I'm not like them. Good. We literally need your example. And this is something that I will take to the grave with me is like every single person is gifted a vision for their life. And it's not going to look like anybody else's. And you're going to think that you're not qualified. But if you're gifted the vision, I truly believe you're gifted the resourcefulness to make it happen. You don't have all the resources yet, but you have to call your shot and you have to understand that it's your responsibility to honor what feels aligned for you. Not what somebody tells you to do, but what you need to do for you. So I just want to applaud you, Lauren, for doing that and for taking people along on this journey. I'm honored to know you. And I'm so just happy that you're being so honest, because I really do think there's a lot of people that can connect with being new in entrepreneurship or being new in podcasting, being like, what the hell am I doing? And you're inspiring them to say like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like just go and you'll figure it out as you go. So.
I absolutely love that. And that's definitely what I did. What do people say? Like running with your hair on fire or something like that? Is that
I don't know what they say, but I feel like I've done that too.
Yeah,
and
that's
like your
totally
pants
me.
Are falling off.
Yeah, pants are falling off. Like literally, that's how I started my podcast. I remember Clubhouse actually gave me the confidence being like, you actually have shit to talk about. And I was like, okay, do it. And then I had my podcast editor because I was like, there's no way in hell I'm starting a podcast like editing. Like that sounds awful. So thank you so much for like seeing me, Kacia. And I think that's why you are such a phenomenal coach and a business owner as a woman, because you actually see your community. And there are so many entrepreneurs out there that are like 10 steps ahead that are like, just do this. And it's like, wait, that doesn't really work anymore.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on here, being I was just so excited. Like, okay. I don't even want to say what I looked like, but I was definitely like crying before this podcast when I was like, she's real. She's real.
Love you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you, Lauren.
I appreciate you too. And go follow Kacia on Instagram, follow her on her podcast, listen in on her story. She has big things happening in January and she has a lot going on in her life. So she is one to follow and have as a mentor. So thank you, Kacia, again, for being you. And, yeah, girl. Thank you. And on that, lovely, I will see you on the next episode. Bye. I hope you are so excited about where you're going, because I know I'm excited for you. Thank you so much for listening in today. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you shared it with a girlfriend or posted it on social media. Tag me so I could personally say thank you. I am so grateful. And until next time,